Hello, I'm Richard Burton from the Richard Burton Arts Centre here on the Yorkshire coast. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Do you want to paint a nice atmospheric evening scene? Keep it simple with diffused colours and really capture that mood and atmosphere? Well, today we're going to do that, and I'm going to show you in some simple steps that you can paint, and you can paint along with me. And before we start, I want to show you our free watercolour starter guide, which is in the link below. It's completely free, and it's for those of you coming back to watercolour or new to watercolour. There's 5 steps in there to get you started, to get you going, and just click below and grab yourself a copy. I'm sure you'll find it useful. And if you want to go even deeper into watercolour and develop some clarity and confidence, well, we've launched our online courses, which are getting a lot of positive feedback at the moment, and they are in the link below. So please, they're there for you when you're ready. Right, so let's get into the painting. Okay, so this is an atmospheric evening scene at Filey Beach with the sun dropping down over the horizon. So the drawing is going to be very minimal. So I'm just going to put the horizon line in, put the cliffs in, and then put the rolling waves as they come onto the beach. Okay, regarding brushes, I'm using 4 in this painting. I want a big wash brush, 2 medium-sized washes, just about 10s or 12s, and then a small one for detail, which is going to be about 4 or 6. Okay, so now let's set the colour up in the colour story on the palette. So what I'm going to have is I'm going to have a warm side and a cool side. On the cool side, I'm going to have cobalt blue and magenta. That's going to be sort of laid out. And then on the warm side, I'm going to have cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, and then a little bit of magenta. Those 3 combinations will work really nicely. Okay, so now we're going to start with the actual painting. What we're going to do is wet the surface first. Make sure that I get a nice even wetting on the surface. Let that soak in so you get a surface that we can control. So it's going to move from being a really wet to more of a wet stroke damp surface. And then we're going to start with the yellow colours. We're going to start with that cadmium yellow, and then also into that we're going to add some cadmium orange. So keep that sort of warm sun area nice and loose. Put that in first, and then I'm going to move over to the other side, which is going to be the blues. Start with the cadmium blue, probably add a bit of ultramarine blue into it as well. Just put that in, cascade that all through, let it diffuse, let them blend together. That's happily, I'm quite content with that. And then I'm going to use the key colour. It's the key colour, it's going to be the magic bit. That's where we're going to add the alizarin crimson, and we're going to pick that up with a little bit of blue from the cool side first of all, and cascade that, start shaping the clouds. These are high level clouds. There's a bit of a wispy feel, there's quite a bit of wind in the atmosphere, so these are going to be wispy type clouds. I'm going to drop those in and drag the brush across, bring it across. As I come across, I'm going to dip it into the left hand side of my palette, so I'm going to pick up a bit of the magenta with the warmth and drop that through, and just drop those in and shape the clouds. So let that settle and diffuse. Once that's sort of settled and diffused, I'm then going to mix some ultramarine blue and magenta, and mix that, or ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson I should say, and then mix that together, make a darker, and just shape in a bit of dark into the clouds. Do it quickly, it's a fast and loose effect, and then just let it diffuse, settle, and create those happy accidents, and hopefully we'll have a high level diffused sky. Okay, so we finished the sky. Let that soak in. It's changing all the time. You can see that sort of diffusion having an effect and getting that granulation. So all sort of magical stuff. It's painting itself. So what we'll do now is concentrating on the water, the sea, the waves and the beach. Using the similar colours that we've got laid out. What we're going to do now, we're going to start on the right hand side with the cobalt blue. I'm going to refresh a bit of cobalt blue, give myself a little bit more cobalt blue because it's just got a little bit muddy with the alizarin crimson. So I'm going to use the cobalt blue, bring that down using a wet brush onto a dry surface, leaving a little bit of white for the waves. As I come down, I'm again going to add a little bit of the alizarin crimson to it just to create that little bit of a purple, and then dropping down from there, I'm going to start adding cadmium orange into their weak, just for the shallow water, weaker. And then as I work across, I'm going to get my cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, brighter colour for the beach, just to replicate that feeling of light from the sky hitting the beach. Fill all that in, bring it down, and then once I've done that, I'll just let that soak in for a minute or two, and then I'm going to get back to my cooler area. I'm going to get my blue and my purple colour, flick a little bit in place on the beach. Also, I'm going to put some purple onto the waves, just to give a feeling of those shallow waves just coming ashore, just that initial wash, so you've got that feeling of the waves coming ashore, and then a bit more flicking onto the beach just to give a bit of texture, and some of the dark, so which is going to be ultramarine blue and a bit of alizarin crimson. Just drop those in, let it diffuse, let it settle and let it dry, and then we'll come back again. Okay, so now we're looking at the cliffs at Viley Brig and the foreground darks of the clay cliffs as they come round towards us. Those are really using a blue-grey wash in the distance, of ultramarine magenta and a little bit of raw sienna, just trying to keep that sort of distant blue-grey. And then, as we come forward, we're going to add in some burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, make it darker with a little bit of magenta, I should say alizarin crimson in there, just to give it that little bit of extra dark and make it darker as we come forward. Now, it'll all be quite moist and damp, So as it is moist, I'm going to add a few darks in there and just let those diffuse into place, and then that'll just give that feeling of diffuse distance and let it emerge. Now the key is just to paint it and leave it, the brushwork, when it's still moist and damp, and then those colours will diffuse and create that magic feeling of atmospheric evening darks. Okay, so now we're going to put a little bit more atmosphere into the beach and the water, the shallow water particularly. We're going to start with a dark under the waves. Just that's going to be a ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and a little bit magenta, just to get a bit of a dark into the waves. And then we're going to lighten that up with a little bit of cobalt blue and magenta, just to get that purple colour that we're going to put in for those little shallow waves, those ripples of water that are just coming ashore. Just put those in. Once that's in, I'm then going to go over to my lighter side, and then I'm going to mix in a little bit of a purpley red, just light colour, and just drip that across the foreground, just re-wetting. So I'm just going to give another layer to the beach, just to give that feeling of diffusion of light coming through the sand. Just drop that in, and then once that's in, I'm going to mix some dark, really dark, and then splatter that on the surface, just to give that feeling of a little bit more texture into the beach. Let that blend together. That's all going to sort of diffuse at this stage, and then go back into the shallow water and add a little bit of shallow pale purple into there. Just let it diffuse, and then let the whole thing just mellow and blend together, and that will create a wonderful atmospheric beach scene. Okay, so now we're up to putting the darks in, final darks, giving some definition so we can put the figures in, which are two surfers walking away from the surfing, finish the day. I'm just going to put those in the distance, using a stronger dark for the figures and a little bit of a lighter dark just for the silhouette of the actual surfboards, and then delicately giving them a little bit of a reflection as well in the sand. Following on from that, I'm now going to put a little bit more texture into the sand by putting some light washes using the red light tone on the palette. Just putting some washes onto there with the brush, some horizontal brushes, just giving that an extra layer of little bit of redness that comes into the sand to give that further texture. And then it's finally adding a few more darks here and there. I'm also going to add a little bit of Chinese white onto the surf just to give them a little bit more feeling of surf and shape, and put a little bit, one or two more highlighted stones in the foreground, and that should be close to being it. Now, there we have it, the finished painting. And of course, with it being the Christmas holiday, again, I've put a mount round it and a frame round it so you can see it in its true glory. Actually, I'm quite pleased with this. It's a simple, what I call a simple, effective beach scene, evening scene, using the fusion of the moisture on the paper, just getting the moisture right, putting the colours in, letting them blend, letting them diffuse, and allowing watercolour to paint itself. And if you can capture that, it really works well. Now, this is one, as I said to you earlier, is to follow along. I'm sure you can follow this, and I'm sure you'll enjoy having a go at it. But remember, just do it in simple steps. Don't take too long about them. Don't let the paint dry while you're painting it. Keep it moist. Let the colours blend, let the colours diffuse, and if you get that effect, you get that magic. The colours really mix together, get that magic, and it really comes to life. And if you're enjoying these, please do like and subscribe, because what I'm going to say is a big thank you. We've got 9,500 subscribers, which is massive. Fantastic for us. We're just a year old this week, and we're really pleased. And it's great to have so many comments, so many questions, so many emails from people about what they're doing, what challenges they've got, what help I can give them. I mean, that is really wonderful. We can't get back to everybody immediately because we're getting so many now, but we will reply back to you, and we will give you as much help as we possibly can. And as I said earlier, we've got our new website with our new online courses, and for those of you who are really wanting further clarity and getting more detail and more depth with your watercolours, they're there for you, and hopefully you'll find them really useful. And I'm also pleased that we got so much positive feedback from people on the online course, because we've spent so much time and effort to get this course just right. And a really big thank you to you all. In the meantime, I hope you're getting a lot out of these YouTube videos, and I hope you've had a lovely Christmas. And I want to wish you all the best for the new year. And like I always say, enjoy and keep painting.